Welcome to Stay Paid Real Estate Marketing. Unlock the secrets of success in the real estate world, where each episode delivers valuable tips and strategies to elevate your marketing game and help you succeed in both life and business. Brought to you by Reminder Media.
Welcome to Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree.
And in today's modern real estate world, building a personal brand is more important than ever. With increasing competition and outside forces having an impact on your success on a daily basis, agents must establish a strong personal brand that is more than just standing out. It's about creating trust, credibility, and loyalty among potential clients. It's not just about selling properties. It's about selling yourself as a knowledgeable, trustworthy, and reliable professional that can deliver results. So today we're going to touch on 5 reasons why a personal brand is important and how you can take action on building one today.
Yes, I just did a training for insurance agents on this topic. I shared with them something that I've often said here on this podcast, but I think it's important to remind you of, is you have a brand. The question is whether or not you control it or not. Mm-hmm. So you have a personal brand right now. It's what others think about you. When they hear your name, it's what do they think about you? And we interviewed Dan Allison years ago on the podcast, but it'd be worth listening to again. I don't know, Ethan, if you can Google kind of what that episode was, but he shared an insane piece of advice that has stuck with me this whole time. There's so many companies that will hire consultants and spend tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their consultation on what they should fix in their business.
Or to find out what their clients think about them, right?
Find out what their clients think about them. And what an amazing action item for you, starting out the gate of this podcast, to call 10 of your clients and ask them, hey, when you hear my name, Luke Acree, my real estate business, Acree Brothers Realty, what do you think of? Mm-hmm. What comes to mind? And write down what they say. Mm-hmm. Write down how would they describe you. Then ask them, hey, what's been the thing that you value most about working with me? Or what do you appreciate most about my business and what I bring to the table? Write down what they say, because that is what your brand is to them. Now, it's a subset of your consumer base, but you can have a pretty good idea if you do it to enough people, 10 to 20 people. This is what people think about me out there. This is what my personal brand is. And I want to remind you that if you think about the thing that will last past your job, last to the next business you do, last, pretty much your whole life, is your reputation. It's your brand, right? And so you think about, okay, you have a brand. The question is, are you controlling it or not? Well, what do people actually think your brand is today? If you don't know that, a good exercise is reach out to your clients and figure it out. And that will help you do the first thing and key to developing a personal brand, which is, what is your actual unique value proposition?
Yep.
What is it that you stand for? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And I tell people all the time that, hey, defining your unique value proposition is key, because that's going to flow into everything that you do. And the way I think about defining a unique value proposition is, there are a couple ways to go about it. One is, okay, who are you as a person, personality-wise, character traits? Who are you? Because that's going to play into your unique value proposition. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're good at analytics. Maybe you're high energy and you never quit, whatever it is, right? What's your personality traits, your character traits? Then you have your experience. What experience do you have that you bring to the table that maybe could play into your unique value proposition? Then you have things like, okay, here's my experience and here is my expertise, like my skill set that I bring into the table. Maybe it's your years in X business and that's why you got into real estate, or maybe it was your experience in your home buying and it was terrible and you never want anybody to go through it. And then last but not least, which is maybe one of the most important parts of building a personal brand and ultimately a unique value proposition, is who's your target audience. Mm-hmm. Because when you determine who you're trying to go after, that's going to help you craft your messaging to be able to build your personal brand upon. And if you try to be everything to all people, you're basically
nobody.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. That's why we need you on this show. You can pull those sayings together, but you have to narrow in. And one of the keys to success in business, and Josh and I did this without even trying, all of us here, but without even trying, we weren't smart, and that's the reason why we did it. We just didn't know any better. We stayed so focused on one thing for so long here at Reminder Media, for probably almost the first 15 years of the business, just trying to be the best in the world at doing these customizable magazines to help people produce referral and repeat business. And we just hammered that messaging and stuck to that product. And here's what happened. Because we were so niched down, focusing on one industry with one product, with one value proposition, our cup started to overflow because we started to have success and we didn't change. And where most people fail in building a personal brand is they try to be all things for all people. And they try to not just hit one target audience, they try to hit every target audience because you suffer from this because I suffer from it too. You look at the blue ocean out there and you're hitting the pavement, right? You're doing your job. And all of a sudden you stumble across another agent. And maybe you've been focused on first-time home buyers. And you stumble across Josh Dyke, and Josh goes, man, I am crushing it right now with baby boomers, dude. The senior market's blowing up. I'm going to go out. I've been, closed 30 deals. So you go, wow, I focused all my unique value prop and I focused all my personal brand on the first-time home buyers. But Josh is saying he's having so much success with seniors. That seems like a blue ocean. I'm missing all this money that's on the table. That's fake money. That's not even real. You have to execute first for it to actually be real in your bank account. And my point with saying this is to go, most people would add on, oh, let me go after seniors too. Mm-hmm. And then what do? You take your 100% of your pie, which is your marketing money, your time, and your energy, and you start piecing out a piece of that pie to going after seniors instead of staying focused on my unique value proposition of why I got into this business, focused on a certain target audience based upon my personality, my skill sets, and my experience, which ultimately, if you stayed focused and you ignore it, even though you are losing maybe some opportunity, but it's fake opportunity. It's not even real yet. But you stay focused on that one audience, all of a sudden, you're going to start getting your cup full where it can overflow, and you have extra to be able to hire somebody else to go after that, or you can afford to go test another audience. So long rant to start off, but it's really important for people to understand. Man. It's where most people fail in building their personal brand is they don't understand, why did I get into this business? And they don't understand, who am I going after?
Yeah. Another thing that you can use, we interviewed Marty Neumeier, who wrote a series of kind of a trilogy of books, but his first one was in the brand gap. And he talks about this idea of the onlyness statement. So it's this idea of creating, like, what makes your brand the only in its category. I had to look up this model, but basically, like, you want to fill in the blanks where it says my brand is the only blank that blanks. And the way that you would do it is you go like, my company name is the only differentiation characteristic for blank customer in blank market or geography who, right, their need state during this time. So it's this idea where you go like, my company is the only company that blanks for these people in this market who need this thing during this time. And even if you narrow that down to just the first two, and you're like, my brand is the only brand that blanks for, or the only blank that blanks, right there, you're going to force yourself to narrow in.
Bingo.
Because you can't go broad because there's not enough spaces. You've got to be actually able to define that in that single onlyness statement.
Exactly. And think about this from an investment standpoint. One of the biggest lies on the internet right now is that you grow your wealth through diversification. But yet all the people who actually get around billionaires and get around really successful people, they recognize that, wow, those successful people did one, at most two things with their income. They went all in on one thing and mastered it. And then what they did, and here's the law that happens, they basically started, like us, you're doing magazines, and we started making all this money from magazines. And so you're starting to pay your people and hire people. And then also you have a bonus. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, I have this extra income. So I have a couple choices. I can invest it in the S&P 500. I can invest it in real estate, or I can invest it back into the asset that got me that money and take a bigger risk. So we chose to go, hey, let's take a lot of this extra money and invest it right back into the business to take a bigger risk, which then allowed us to diversify. Meaning we didn't go into this business and go, we did magazines. And then the first time someone asked us to also do a digital magazine, we didn't break away and do a digital magazine. We just ignored it. Yeah, we just ignored it and stayed focused on the print magazine until we had enough success and money. And we didn't even do this on purpose. I'm just looking back going, holy crap, we were so lucky that we were dumb enough to stay focused. But we stayed focused, and all of a sudden we had this extra money, which allowed us to get into digital. And why is that important? Because when we did digital, you remember we went with that company?
Yeah.
And yes, we got it off the ground, but it was a disaster. We had to switch.
Yeah.
So there was lost money there because we went and tried something, and it did work to a certain degree, got us started going, but we had to end up developing it ourselves. If we would have not stayed focused on the magazine, where we would have income based upon the unique value proposition that we were bringing to the table, we would not have been able to probably afford to go and 1, hire that company, 2, make the mistake with that company, 3, be able to spend the money to program it ourselves. But because we stayed focused, it allowed us that opportunity, which allowed us to move to the next phase. So,
absolutely. Okay,
all that to say, you've crafted this unique value prop of what you bring to the table, who you are based upon your personality, your character traits, your experience, things like your target audience. Then you want to move into what is your consistent brand identity. And what do I mean by that is, I'm going to be really pragmatic and simplistic here, is that when you're putting out your messaging, you want to make sure that you are putting out a consistent message to an audience over and over and over again. We see this in marketing. I share it on trainings all the time when we talk about geographic farming with postcards or anything. There's this rule of marketing called the rule of 7. Now, whether or not this is true research or not true research, I don't really know, but it makes a ton of sense for the consumer's brain, which is it takes a consumer 7 times to see your brand, to hear your message, for your brand, your messaging to even be known to them, for them to even recognize it. So when I think about consistency of brand identity, think about, here's the mistake most people make. Imagine you have a brand bank account in the mind of each of your prospects. Mm-hmm. Every time you hear my name, Josh, every time you see my brand color, every time you see a copy of marketing from me.
Get one of your emails.
Get one of my emails, which I send a lot of them. You guys know that. I'm depositing in your brand bank account that sits in your mind that goes, hey, this is Luke Akery's brand. Right now, there's 0 in your bank in your mind about me. But every time you see me, I'm putting a deposit in there. But where most people make the mistake is they don't have brand consistency. So they don't use the same logo. They don't use the same picture a lot of times. They don't use the same color scheme. They don't even use the same voice or messaging, right? So imagine having a bank account, but you've opened up 100 different sub-accounts in that bank account. Mm-hmm. So essentially what you're doing is you are depositing in Josh Dyke's brain, but it's just going into different sub-accounts every time you are hitting him with a messaging or with a logo or whatever that's different from your actual brand. And so you feel like, man, why didn't Josh use me? Why didn't he use me? He knows me. I play on the praise band worship team with him. Why didn't he use it? It's because you never built up the brand equity with one single value prop, one messaging for him to know exactly who you are and exactly what you do, so there's no confusion. And we've made this mistake before too. You try to be everything to everybody. You try to advertise all your features and products, and you end up getting no message across.
I think of someone like Sean Carpenter, and I think of Sean Carpenter's name, I think of creating relationships, solving problems, and having fun. Yep. And I go, because even when he sends us...
and you think of beer.
You think of beer in Florida State.
Gators or whatever, yeah.
But even when he... or maybe not, I guess just Florida.
Yeah.
But he'll send us video messages sometimes about what he thought of the podcast. And just, hey, just remember, build relationships, solve problems, have fun.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yeah, I don't want to get political.
Take action on that today.
Right, but
that's ours.
Yeah, exactly. Take action on that. There's something powerful in there.
Yeah.
But you think, look at politicians, right? And one of the things that you see that they do extremely well is they say their message over and over and over again, and they pivot. And what irritates you is when you watch them on interviews.
They'll bring any question back.
Yeah, they don't answer the question. They just pivot right back to their message, to their statement. And you think to yourself, oh, that you can see he's just avoiding the question. It's like, no. The reality is your brain won't even remember, but your brain will remember the message they said over and over and over again. It's like, you need to know that as a business. You need to develop that UVP, and then you need to immediately hammer it with the same messaging, same color scheme, same, everything about what you've created for this brand. Hammer it home for as long as you possibly can so people know it.
So there you go. You got your UVP set up. You've got your brand identity. The next thing that you have to do is leverage the power of online content. So we just kind of talked about this last episode about this idea of how you can, enhance your blog images, but talk about the online content.
Yeah. Piece. So we talk about content all the time. How do you, one of the best mediums to get your brand out there is through content generation, right? And creation. So you want to be blogging, email marketing, social media, all that's pretty obvious. You should be doing it. If you're not, you should be. What I would focus in on this is one of the greatest pieces of advice I got on building a personal brand was, I think, from a Grant Cardone video. It might have been a conference. I can't remember. I think it was a video. But he essentially said one of the things that he did to blow up his personal brand is he sat down on a piece of paper and wrote out his life journey, all the big things that have happened to him in his life. And the reason why I think this is important is because he sat there. So for me, it would be like grew up in a family of 8 kids, was homeschooled all the way to college, a son of a pastor, got into music when I was 11 years old, was in a band that played from like shows from 11 to almost like 19 years old. Like all these major things that have happened to me, even tragedies. You know, my cousin got hit by a car at this age. So you're mapping out your whole life and big things that have happened to you. Why is this important? Think of the biggest brands and personal brands. Things like Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Kim Kardashian, all these people, what they are is they are authentic almost to a fault. Like they don't mind sharing everything about their life. They don't mind sharing their opinions, their views. They're authentically them. And Shannon Gillette put out an amazing tip the other day that said if your message isn't strong enough to turn people off, it won't be strong enough to attract your tribe. And so if you are not authentically real, sharing your opinions and your views, and strong enough to put that out that will turn some people off, it will not turn some people to you. And those people that need to hear it, that associate with that messaging, need to hear it, and you need to be authentic. So what's the best way to be authentic? Tell your life journey. Now, here's where Grant Cardone made it a home run for me. Take your life journey. Look at the headlines that are happening in the news and where the attention's going to. Then do basically a connect the dot. What life event that has happened to me somehow connects to what's happening in the news right now that's trending, and then share your opinion and tie it back to your UVP. So it could be something simple like where I literally go, I grew up in a family of 8 kids and was homeschooled all the way to college. So, at the end of the day, it was funny. Prom was really hilarious. Taking my sister, my brother, taking my brother to prom. We didn't have a prom, people. So I grew up in a family of 8 kids. And the one thing my mom taught me, which was probably the most important thing that I've ever learned, which is life's about relationships. And she drilled that in, talk about messaging. She drilled that in so much in our lives because when we were doing the band and having some semi-success there, she would just remind us, hey, life's not about your success and accolades in music. It's about relationships. Even to this day with the company and the success we've had, life's about relationships. And that stuck out to me because as I've grown Reminder Media, it really became the core and essential truth of how we've grown this business, which is we believe the currency of life is about relationships, and we applied that to business. The currency of business is about relationships. If you don't get people to have relationships with in your business, you won't be in business. And you see what I did just then?
Yep.
I was able to tell people about who I am authentically, builds my personal brand because people get to know me, and how do they like me and trust me? Like is built oftentimes off of commonality. So if you're able to share something, anybody who was homeschooled that's listening to that is instantly going to be connected to me more. Anybody who had a mother that invested into their life is instantly going to be connected more to you, right? So these things, when you're sharing a personal thing, you tie it back to your UVP. Hey, it's about relationships. So how are you building relationships in your business? All of a sudden, that's how you're hitting the messaging. You're tying it to authentic content that you're putting out. And if I was really good, I would have chose something online that's happening right now about relationships or failed relationship or whatever, and I would have tied it all together.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so there you go.
Great model to follow. Number 4, build credibility and trust. So
yeah, these are supposed to be short silver dollars, so I'm going to give you a quick one here.
Yeah.
Okay. The tip I gave to the insurance people that I want you to execute on is there's multiple ways to build trust, but one really great way to build a personal brand trust is to get the influence of others who have, or get people who have influence to say something great about you or to do something with you. So take our podcast, for instance. When we interview people like Cody Askins in the insurance industry, Cody's influence is associated with ours. So everybody who knows Cody, naturally, it builds our personal brand with all of them. So think to you down at the community level, you as a real estate agent, as an insurance agent, whoever you are, think about the people in your community that have influence. And how do you do things with them? And how do you partner together? It can be simple. It could be if you're, in Lynchburg, Virginia, and you're an insurance agent. My brother, Steven, he has a sphere of 750 people. He has great influence over. He has 4,000 homes that he markets to all the time that he has influence over. He's connected in these boards and these investor groups. If you partner up with Steven and you do content together, the influence of his personal brand to you naturally builds your personal brand. So partnering up with somebody to say something great about you, and you can take this from not just business, you can take it to hobbies and fun. There's people out there that are doing events. There's restaurant owners. You can interview them. You can get associated with them. There's also the charity side. Like my dad's a pastor, I mentioned. So my dad, 34 years in the community, or 35 being a pastor in this community, he has a lot of influence over that community. So how can you get involved with some of the things that he's doing where you guys partner up, you could do content online together, and it naturally builds your personal brand and trust in the mind of the people who respect him.
Yeah. That kind of plays into the final one, which is networking and building relationships, so connecting with the local businesses.
So the best people that build personal brands, in my mind, are the people who do the most for others. So take networking a step further than just, hey, meeting people. Take it to, I think of people like my insurance agent, Keith, or Matt, my financial advisor. It's always, hey, who can I connect you with? How can I help you? Like Tim Garrity, who we interviewed on this podcast. He's a great real estate broker in Philly, runs Copper Hill Real Estate, but he's always connecting people to me. I'm connecting people now to him, but he's always giving before he's taking. And that's the true networking you want to do, is you want to go network with people, but it's truly about, hey, Josh, how can I help you? Who can I connect you with? Who's your ideal target audience? Who do you want to know in this business? Who do you want to know in this area that I might know that I can connect you with? And that is what really moves the hearts of people to actually want to give back to you.
There you go. Thank you so much for listening. You can head to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and the video of this episode. And if you like this episode and want to show your support, go to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. We'll read it here on the show. And the best way to support the show is by simply sharing this episode with someone that you know. Speaking of, real estate and stuff, I saw 10 ants frantically running around my kitchen. Yeah, I saw 10 ants. They were running around. I felt so bad for them, I built them a small house. Now I'm their landlord, and I collect rent from my tenants. From my 10 ants.
That was a long joke.
That and the segue into it, too.
I feel like you got to stretch that one out for it to really have, to get the full meat off that bone. If you want to get hold of me, Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke A. Creek. My action item for you on this episode, there's many, but the one I want you to take action on is call 5 of your clients and ask them right now, hey, when you think of my business, can I just ask you, what comes to mind? What do you think of? What do you love about working with me? And what was the thing you disliked the most? And write that down. That's your research. That's your consulting that you don't have to pay $10,000 or thousands of dollars for. And you can go take action on it. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.